Welcome to Catalytic Curiosity. I am your host, James with the Y O'Farron, with Catalytic Conversations. I serve remote professionals and hybrid organizations with coaching, consulting, and training to help them reconcile humanity and technology, leading to healthier digitally integrated lives and teams. On this podcast, I am embarking on a journey of discovery to unearth the roots of digital mastery and maturity beyond mere adulting. I interview insightful and intriguing experts exploring how we can develop sage-like maturity with intention in today's digitized world. Today's episode brings Shakeel Gaya to the table to talk about connection, both in person and online. Shakeel is a lifelong traveler and one who believes that learning is truly a cradle-to-grave process. He believes that most of the challenging situations happen because of lack of understanding and communication failures, and that we need to reach out to each other to tell our stories. We do not have to agree with each other, but just listening will solve many problems both personally and globally. I met Shakeel through a Toastmasters networking program. We had some amazing conversations, not the least of which this one. Today, we talk about his travels and some of his experiences of connecting with people in diverse cultures and diverse places, and how we can develop the maturity to listen authentically and to connect with everyone and the values we can get out of that. It's an amazing conversation. I look forward to you joining us on today's episode of Catalytic Curiosity. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Catalytic Curiosity. Today, I have a friend of mine, Shakeel Gaya, that I met through a networking program for Toastmasters, for helping people connect around the world who have interesting ideas and thoughts, who share different experiences and things like that. And Shakeel popped up as one of my assigned networking partners, and we had an amazing conversation. I said, I have to have you on this podcast because of his experience and the things that he's passionate about just lined up so perfectly with what my vision is for this podcast. So Shakeel, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time. Tell me a little bit about yourself and for our audience. What's unique about you?
Well, I guess two things. One, I firmly believe that individuals are powerful people. And it's not just me saying, but if you do a historical analysis, you'll find a significant amount of changes, whether from a technology point of view, from a social point of view, from a human interaction, living point of view, have been brought about by an individual. And then people develop that theory or philosophy and then move on to it. Whether you look at religion, where to the prophets, different prophets came with their messages, all with same moral values and similar things, little differences in the details, but that's there, or scientific technology. But today, and I feel that we have lost that value for the individual, and everything seems to be going in the cluster. Secondly, I strongly believe that we share so much more things in common rather than our differences. And it is incumbent upon each of us to use the technology available to us and reach out to people. And we don't have to agree on 100% of what everybody says.
It would be a very lonely world if we did have to.
Exactly, precisely, James, precisely. But just by listening, listen to somebody, give them your ear. Where are they coming from? What is their perspective? And I found what has helped me in developing this skill, if you wish, is my passion for travel, going to new places.
Yes.
And as a foodie, trying different foods from different parts of the world.
Because we connect with food so much, don't we?
Yes. So that's helped me in learning. In food, you could be a simple person and say, no, I'm only going to have steaks and potatoes. No, nothing else. Or you could say, you know what? This is beef, and this is potatoes, and these are mushrooms. How else do people eat beef and vegetables? Do a global travel.
A lot of ways.
A lot of ways. So how does it taste? Is it good? Do I like it? Not. Okay. This is too strong, weak, taste, whatever, And just as a simple example. And you don't have to say, no, I'm going to give up my steaks and potatoes. I love steak and potatoes. Mash or fries or whatever. But just from that perspective, you get an idea, okay, so there's more than one way of looking at something. And it doesn't have to be my way or the highway, like either
Hmm.
you're with us or you're against us, as some of our politicians have said in the past. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense because the world, and there is so much of difference and positive differences and good. It's like a bouquet of flowers, I mean, you go into a garden and you see so many different types of flowers, same flowers, so many different colors and shades. It's amazing. To me, that's beauty, that's nature,
Yeah.
that's whatever you want to call it. It's
So there's so
amazing.
much variety out there to
There's so much
explore.
variety.
So tell me
So
about
much
some of the
variety.
places you've traveled and some of your experiences with that.
Well, I've traveled fairly well, I think, but I haven't been to Australia as yet. I've traveled to Europe. I'm originally from Pakistan, and my first major travel really was,
I just met a Pakistani this morning.
yeah,
I started through a networking event here locally, and are chatting
uh-huh.
with her. She's a super cool gal, and I
Right.
was chatting with her. I was like, I haven't met too many Pakistani people, but I've had Pakistani food, and it's amazing, and I love it. But then she asked, "Well, where did you have Pakistan?" I realized I couldn't remember. I remember that there's like a check mark of Pakistani food good, but I can't remember where I acquired that check mark. There's a
No.
restaurant somewhere, there's a person, someone brought it to a potluck or something. I've had Pakistani food and
Yeah,
I liked it, but it was so
yeah,
long ago that I've
yeah,
forgotten where. So I need to go out and find a Pakistani restaurant now
yes.
and have it so I remember what it's like and why I like it.
Oh, but you'll be amazed that even in when you label it as like Pakistani food, the the country runs north to south from the Karakoram Mountains in the north to the
Mm-hmm.
Arabian Sea at the south, and there is similarity in the food, of course, but traditionally, what you would have is in the northern areas of the mountain, not so much of agriculture, so not too much spices.
Mm-hmm.
You cut a lamb or a cow or whatever, and meat, was there, and whatever vegetables or spices would be there or saved,
Mm-hmm.
put it on, and that's what you're going to get for your
Mm-hmm.
meal, sort of a situation. And as you come down more south to the plains, and that's when you start getting more flavors and things.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you'll find that Pakistan, especially when you come down south to the major city of Karachi, Karachi is an amazing place
Mm-hmm.
which has basically just grown and grown. In 1945, it was a seesaw. It was a resort town on the Arabian Sea, where the
Oh.
big merchants from India, from Bombay and other places would be sending the families for the summer break.
Ah.
And population was less than 500,000. Today, it's over 20 million.
Oh wow, that's a lot of
And
growth.
you have a person from every part of the subcontinent. When I say the subcontinent, I mean from Bengal in the east to India, north, south, and Pakistan, Afghanistan, the whole South Asian, diaspora. You have some form of representation
Oh.
there. So it depends which Pakistani restaurant you're going to and how much
There.
spice you
There's
can tolerate.
varieties within varieties.
A variety again variety, and it depends, like how much spice can you tolerate, how much, and flavors do you want.
Yep.
So it's a
You have
whole
options.
spectrum of variants that you can get over there, and it's truly amazing.
Hmm.
It's truly amazing. Yeah, yeah,
Fantastic. So you're
yeah.
from Pakistan. Where
Uh-huh.
have you been in the world? So you haven't been to Australia yet. You've been, Europe, different places. Have
I've
you been to like
been.
Japan or some of those the Far East countries yet?
Oh, James, you remind me of an amazing trip.
Mm.
I One of my highlights, I should say, something I'm really proud about, was that I was selected. I was honored, deeply, deeply moved when I was selected by the Junior Chamber in Pakistan
Mm.
to represent the Pakistani youth in the International JC's Junior Chamber annual conference. And every year the Japan JCs used to do it. This was way, way back when I had more hair on my head and the hair was not this colored. So, and I didn't have any hair on my face at that time. So I was one of the two people who was selected to represent Pakistan.
Oh.
And it was such an amazing trip that we flew from Karachi to Hong Kong.
Hmm.
And in Hong Kong, we boarded a beautiful cruise ship, which had about 350 Japanese young people and about 50 people from all over the world, including from US, from England, from Australia, from New Zealand, from Thailand, from Sweden, from Philippines. Uh, Different parts of the world came, and they paired us one international delegate with three Japanese, men and women segregated in that on the cabin. And then we sailed from Hong Kong to Manila. We spent 2 nights on the cruise ship in Manila, toured Manila City, amazing place at that time. And then we came to Japan. When we reached Yokohama, we disembarked from the ship and we had like a half a day conference.
Uh,
And then all the Japanese guests, the delegates went home, and we were sent to different parts of Japan. And I was fortunate enough to be sent to the southernmost part of Japan, mainland Japan. And my buddy, my partner, was this amazing guy from Papua New Guinea. And Japan was it just blew my mind away. It was so amazing. It was
what was the
so
most
amazing.
powerful thing that really impacted you there?
Oh my God, I guess the discipline.
Ooh. Mm.
The discipline.
Hmm.
Like in Pakistan, people are a little bit more casual about implementing the traffic laws, let's put it this way. And I still
I've heard.
remember we were, going from Ibusuki city, which is on the southernmost tip of Japan. And when you're on the beach over there and in the Sea of Japan, you can see these hills out, and they're all volcanic mountains. You park your car outside, come back from work, and there's a thin layer of volcanic ash on the car.
Huh.
And they have volcanic beaches. Like people go down to the beach, and well, I don't know if your audience may be offended, but all you get to go on the beach when you're going is a small 6 inch by 6 inch, 9 inch towel. And you soak yourself in the hot volcanic mud. It's supposed to be great therapeutic. I loved it as like a massage. I
Wow.
ventured for that. Never done that before and never done that
That sounds
since.
like an amazing experience.
Did that and came back, and it was wonderful. One of our trips to help us to, as a tribute to us,
Mhm.
international delegates, was when they took us to this fish farm
Hmm.
outside the city. So we went. There were 4 cars, and there was a railway crossing, and every car stopped, dead stop. I mean, not slow down, dead stop at the railway crossing, and the Japanese drivers are looking left and right. I was wondering, like, there's no train coming, there's nothing. I mean, you see the first car go, just move on. But no, every single car stopped.
Huh.
Every single car stopped and waited, looked around, and I said, "Wow, these guys follow rules."
Yeah.
And then when we reached the fish farm, I was introduced to the owner of the fish farm, and then they brought the chef. And talk about fresh fish. They had channels with water flowing, and the goldfish and other large fish were there, and they were like swimming, live fish.
Huh.
So the chef just picks up a net, puts it in the channels, brings the fish out, and the fish is outside on a
Right.
log, and still, moving. And you go chop, 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 chop. And they put a piece in a plate and give it to me on one side with a little bit of soy sauce. And I'm looking at him, at my host and my interpreter, and I'm wondering, what do I do with it? And I was told you have to eat this. It's like what we would be doing in the Middle Eastern or the Pakistani culture.
Huh.
Like if somebody's come to your house and when you had a large farm or whatever,
Right.
you slaughter a sheep or something like a fresh meat,
Give.
and
Yeah.
as an honor for the guest.
Yes.
And I was made to understand that, oh, so this has been done in our honor. And
Right.
my friend from Papua New Guinea, he grabbed my elbow and he said, "Buddy, I've never done this and I don't think I can do it. You're gonna save our skin." And like it was a very delicate situation where you did not want to offend the hosts
Right.
as they've been so gracious and they've taken us to this special outing.
Right.
And I said, okay. So I grabbed up the chopsticks, and thank God I could use them. And I just put the piece of the fish in my mouth, and I just looked up at him.
Huh.
I just navigated down the food pipe, and I smiled and I bowed to them and I said, "Arigato," meaning thank you very much. And they said,
Okay.
"Oh," and they all started clapping, and it saved the day.
I love
Now,
that.
before that, I'd never eaten raw fish.
Mm-hmm.
You get amazing seafood in Karachi, which is on the Arabian
Yeah.
Sea, and amazing different varieties, prawns, not lobsters, but crabs
Hmm.
and fish. but I've never eaten. I've had grilled, I've had, all kinds of fried and different spices and no
So
spices.
did you eventually acquire? Did you acquire a taste for it?
Well, not right away, but once I had done that, and then I came to Canada in 1996, and especially in Vancouver, and I saw so many of these sushi restaurants,
Yep.
and I started with the mild sushis and stuff, and said, okay, let's try this. Okay, soy sauce, interesting, and then I said, well, let's try some sashimi. And now my favorite food at the Japanese restaurant is a piece of tuna sashimi. I prefer
Ah,
that to the salmon.
yep.
My
Salmon
daughter and
sashimi is
I,
good.
my youngest daughter, she loves. And whenever she's in town, she visits, she and me, daughter and dad, we go for a lunch for sashimi.
I love it.
And
My
yeah,
my
we love it.
wife before I got married, I had never had shellfish or sushi or
Oh,
anything
wow.
like that. And so on our honeymoon, she persuaded me to try shrimp, and I tried shrimp, and I actually did like it. So I
Nice.
still have it every once in a while. She's very happy with that. She also introduced me to sushi,
Mm.
and it has a dear place in my heart now. We go out for date nights. We go regularly to go out and have sushi together because it is amazing. The sashimi, I have to admit, I do love the tempura fried ones best though because it's that nice crunch.
Okay,
It's
I
amazing.
hear you. I
It's
hear
good.
you. But there again, you see, like this, if I would not have probably gone to Japan,
Exactly.
and if I would not have ventured
Hmm.
out, gone on a limb and tried this raw fish and see
Yeah.
what was it? I thought to myself, I said, what's the worst that can happen? So I said, at the most, I'll throw up or whatever.
Yep.
You know, all the thoughts are going in your mind. I said, never mind, we'll see what's going to happen later on. And I just blocked it in
Yeah.
and it
And
developed. It took me time to go from there to
yes.
sashimi. But
It's
at that
challenging
first,
and reaching outside
yes,
your comfort zone, trying something new. And I love this story because it is such a beautiful picture of what you brought up in the very first part and kind of the focus of this episode is this is an analogous and metaphorical for how we relate to people.
yes.
We don't eat people, but we connect with people over food, but we connect with people, and there are people that we like, well, I would never like this kind of person. I would never get along with this kind of person because we disagree on so many different ways. They're so different from me. But we need to have the maturity, right? And the courage to encounter, to listen,
Yes,
right?
that's
To
important.
listen deeply, to set aside our own judgments and our own
Yes.
biases as much as we can, because we can't completely set them aside, but as much as we can, we set them aside so that we can engage with them honestly and authentically.
Hmm.
And who knows, we might make a new best friend. We might get our ideas changed and improved by that encounter. Either
Hmm.
way, though,
Hmm.
whether we like, well, okay, I still really completely disagree with this person. I really still don't like them, but that experience has changed me, and I'm better for it.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
yes. Yeah. No, that's what reminded me about my trip to Japan. And then no, it was amazing. It was one of the highlights, and one of the craziest things that happened over there was that they would have like a daily newspaper coming out, and there was the Japanese newspaper,
Hmm.
and there would be an English newspaper.
Hmm.
And James, you have three opportunities to guess who was the editor of the English newspaper on board the ship.
Probably not an English person.
Not from England, not the young lady who came from, I don't know, she from Maryland or Maine. She was from USA. Not the two people who came from Australia or from
No,
New Zealand. Not them.
no, no.
It was offered. Nobody wanted it. It was offered to a crazy guy from Pakistan called Shakeel Gaya, and he said, "Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it." And so I've gone on the limb, and I've learned one thing that you know we all set limits to our own potential. And no, I can't do that. I can't eat that. I can't drive that, or I can't achieve this, or whatever. Which is which is a shame.
Yeah.
And the First Nations philosophy, I guess, would be the same across the border in Canada or USA because the philosophy remains the same. Is when they talk about the Creator and they say that He has blessed His creation with so many different things, and we do not know what is our calling, what is our potential, till we do not go out like even in some of the African tribes, their rites of maturity and adulthood, they would send a young man out into the forest to go and explore, not in a protective environment where mom and dad are dropping the child to the school. Well, sad situations about the school
Yeah,
education and the
indeed.
safety issue nowadays. But that gives you an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone,
Mm,
explore, and
mhm,
see, okay, and come to real life experience, which may not be replicated in the future, but that could start a learning process.
mhm.
And that, sets the tone going on for you. I
Yeah.
came in 1996 and I didn't know anybody in Vancouver. I had half my family in Toronto. Toronto's like New York or London, the
Right.
metropolis in Canada.
Yeah.
And lots of family and stuff there. And my wife and we decided that, hey, whatever the Creator has written for us
Mhm,
in terms of our provision, we will get it wherever we go. And we were told that Vancouver is the most mildest and most beautiful place in Canada. So we said, hey, let's go there. We came here, and it's been a wonderful trip. It's been a wonderful experience
mhm,
meeting so many different people.
mhm. That's
And
awesome.
again, one of the advantages in living in Vancouver is that you have the Canadians who've come immigrated from Britain
Yeah.
primarily, but so many more people have come over the years, and just interacting with different people. It's been
Yeah.
profound. It's been profound.
There's so much
So
variety there. So many different people from all over
there
the
is.
world.
All over the
So
world, we
different
have
ideas.
different people. Or even if you're in a small town, in a small community,
Mhm.
where you have an only white or an only brown or only black, and I don't mean this in derogatory terms, I'm just
Yeah.
racially dividing people in that category,
Mhm.
whoever there is, listen to people. Go
Yeah.
and say what they have to say. You don't have to agree with them,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
lend them your ear.
Yeah.
What are they saying? Where are they coming from?
Yeah.
And you might say, okay, that's what he believes, or that's what he holds to be the truth, so to
Yeah.
speak. We don't have to agree to it. But once you sit down and listen, and today, in any communication seminar or any
Mhm.
communication program,
Mhm.
you will find that the emphasis is not so much on speaking,
Mhm.
but essential part of communication is listening.
Yes.
Are you prepared to stop and listen to what the person is saying and then respond?
Yeah.
Or are you just going to have your own preconceived silo kind of a thing? No,
Yeah.
I'm not going to move from there. So to me, I would recommend to anybody, especially young people,
Mm.
get out and move. Go going, wherever you want to go, travel in the world, travel across the USA.
Yeah.
That in itself is an education,
It
like
is. Oh,
it
it
is.
is.
It is.
Absolutely.
I mean, I haven't
I've
seen
lived. I've
much.
lived in Washington. I've lived in Tennessee, Texas, and North Dakota. Now here in America. I've also
Yeah.
lived in Ireland. Overseas, and there's so much variety. Like I could say that there's actually, in a sense, in certain areas, more
Hmm.
differences between Washington and Ireland than between Washington and Texas, right?
Wow.
So like Texas is hugely different from Washington, and Washington
Hmm.
Island are actually very similar in many ways. But then
Hmm.
Tennessee is its own little variety along those lines, and North Dakota is this whole different animal, but has its commonalities with Texas and
Yeah.
Georgia and different places like that. So there's all these different ways that people can be the same or different. And so
Hmm.
seeing that diversity of ways in being diverse is also really valuable.
Yeah, we have differences. There is diversity. But
Yeah,
again, one of my
there's so much
learnings
same.
on visiting the Cambridge University in England was the architecture.
Mm,
It looked so similar, so familiar to what I was used to. And the arches were there and the situation. And I was told that the Cambridge University campus buildings have been built. They were inspired by the Arab architecture. And I couldn't believe it. And then he said, look, this is what you have in the mosques,
yeah.
these arches and these kind of symbolic structures. So
Hmm.
at that time, technology, design,
Hmm.
whatever, the Muslims were leading the world in science and technology and everything, and including architecture.
Yeah.
So some architect from England
Yeah.
goes to Spain, to Granada or
Hmm.
wherever, saw the Grand Mosque of Granada
Hmm.
and southern Spain and saw all that. He said, wow, that looks cool. And gets a job to design a university in England. And he said, I'd like to
Like,
build
aha,
it.
an opportunity.
And go figure, like, so
I
that's
love it.
how And there
Yeah.
are so many similarities I find between people
Yeah.
that we're not prepared to, share with each other or
Hmm.
reconcile to. It's just a question of saying, no, no, this is me. No, no. This is it or this is it. No. Life is not rigid. You can never be rigid. Yes, on your core values,
Hmm.
on your matter of faith.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, as much as a foodie I am, but as a Muslim, of course, pork is prohibited
Uh-huh.
for us
Right.
unless it's a life-saving situation.
Hmm.
So I eat meats. I love lamb. I love beef. I love dairy. I love all the seafood that I can get. I don't eat pork. But if somebody wants to eat pork, I mean, I'm just going to say, what are you eating? Ew. You want to eat it? You eat it. If for us, we feel that the same message is there in the Bible and the others, that the pig was not an animal to be consumed, but for use for other reasons, you're breaking the law, divine law. Who am I? You know it. You want to do it. It's between you and your creator.
Yeah.
Do it. So, tolerance and where you have to draw the line,
Yeah.
yes. But you look at the global situation today, James.
Hmm.
So much of, you know, ego
Mm.
and so
Yeah.
much of lack of sharing
Yeah.
and ignorance, really, and, trying to brainwash people. And that's one of the tragedies of the modern technology, I would say, that media
Yeah. It's made it
has become
harder.
so consolidated in so few hands that the
Hmm.
one message is coming out.
Hmm.
And we have stopped thinking as human beings that the faculty of mind and the analytical ability that the Creator has given us.
Hmm.
Does this make sense? How does this make sense? You know,
Yeah.
I was I'm basically a pharmacist, but I went into the marketing area. And when I came to Canada, I was working with a large multinational company.
Hmm.
And for one of our conferences, we were in Arizona, and my roommate was a wonderful guy. Joe was a big guy of German descent,
Uh-huh.
and he was into mixed martial arts.
Ah.
And he was my roommate. And one night after the evening was over and stuff, and we're in the room, and he's saying, "Hey, Shakeel, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure, Joe, go ahead." He said, "Look, it's a little delicate situation, so I mean, please don't feel offended." I said, "Wow, you got to say all that before you're going to ask me the question?"
Oh
I'm
boy, now
getting
I'm worried.
scared. And this was, not too long after 9/11.
Mm.
And, from that time, the labeling Muslims equal terrorists kind of a thing had been
Right.
started. I'm not saying we don't have our share of crazy people, but, that labeling in terms
Hmm.
of Muslims, because there is no one Muslim. We come from all
Right.
geographical parts of the world.
Right.
And he asked me a brilliant question, James.
Mm.
And he said, Shakeel, tell me, I can't understand. How can all Muslims be terrorists? And I paused and I thought to myself, and then before I could answer, from his side of the room, he says, it doesn't make sense. So I said, Joe,
Hmm.
you've just answered your question. I was going to tell you that, when we're born, we're taken from our moms and sent to some factory in Shanghai where they have the T chip called the terrorist chip, and that's planted in us, and that's how all Muslims become terrorists. And we had a good laugh together, but that's what it is.
Right.
That's what it is. And things like that. But
Mm.
if we stop and think and ponder, there is so much
Hmm.
that the bounties of nature,
Yeah.
whatever, as you wish to describe it, whether in theological terms, in religious ways, or philosophically, or whatever, there is so much, this earth that has been given to us.
Yeah.
There is so much in it for all of us.
And there's so much that we miss when we paint a broad brush across
Yes,
everything.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it's just our greed that I
Hmm.
want more, I want more, I want more.
Hmm.
And we forget one simple fact. When any of us, and I don't care where you are, which part of the world, or what you believe or don't believe in, when we come into the world, our hand is empty.
Hmm.
We bring nothing. And when we go, we take nothing.
Hmm.
So for the 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years on this planet, how many billions of dollars does one man need or one family need?
Hmm.
If you think about that, I'm not against people making
Yeah.
money, don't get me wrong. No,
Right.
no. But I
Perspective.
for me, it's perspective. To
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
instead of trying to grab three slices of the pizza, hey, Why don't we make the pizza a little larger or double the size? And everybody gets one slice and is
Yeah.
happy sharing.
Yeah.
You know, simple things.
So tell me, so we talked a little bit last time about because you've traveled all the place, you've had amazing connections over food and listened to all these people all around the world. What are some of your experiences in connecting online? Because so what you're describing of this listening, of having that perspective that allows us to set aside our prejudgments so that we can actually authentically listen to people. What are some of your experiences of that? Since COVID, since the lockdowns, everybody's going online. Like this is how we met, was through online connections and things like that. What are some of the lessons that you've learned about connecting online using technology for good?
Well, James, uh, I don't know how to put this. It sounds rather weird, but I'm happy for COVID.
Hmm.
In the sense, don't get me wrong, it
Right.
caused a lot of damage, a lot of people died. Uh, Leaving that aside,
Mm-hmm.
what COVID has done, because in every dark cloud, like you said, there's a silver lining.
Always.
What it has done has made the world relatively smaller.
Mm.
Sitting in Vancouver at
Mm-hmm.
my home office, I've been fortunate enough to attend a Toastmasters meeting in Ankara, Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
I've dealt with friends and colleagues. I made friends in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my second person that I met through this program that we met. And then I met this gentleman from Latin America who is in Prague,
Mm.
who spent a year working in Vancouver. So go figure it out.
Nice.
And then I met this amazing young lady who's an architect. She studied architecture in Italy, in Milan.
Mm.
She's a great artist and loves design and flair.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes from Lebanon
Oh, wow.
to Italy to study architecture and decides to stay there. And when I visited Turkey this January,
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year, I was just blown away by the art and architecture that I saw there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They have high rises, but their high rises are not, like cookie cutter, straight columns of concrete and steel and glass. There was art, there was some feel to it.
Mm.
So I shared those designs with her,
Mm-hmm.
and she educated me. She's been, must be in her early 30s, probably half my age.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling me, this design is called this in architectural terms, and you see these little things on the top of the glass panels.
Uh-huh.
And I said, oh, I didn't even notice that. So
Ah.
I learned
Uh-huh.
art and architecture from
Mm.
this young lady
Mm.
who's half my or less than half my age. So to me, the simple thing is, you have a heart, open it up to people. Have
Yeah.
a mind, open it up to people. You never know what you're going to learn and get from it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just traveling in Turkey, we went. We on Google, we said, okay, let's find this restaurant and find some good place. And my son and his family also happened to be there, so we were together. And they did all the Google searching. Okay, Dad, we're going to go to a nice place for lunch. I said, great. We parked the car and we're going and we're looking and looking, looking, and we come to the restaurant. Guess what?
Oh,
Closed.
oh
It's
no.
only open for dinner.
Oh.
What do? You're hungry. You got to eat some food. And there we found some Uyghur food. The Uyghur is the Turkish Muslims of Turkmenistan bordering
Yeah.
China, who are suffering through such cultural
Yeah.
genocide,
Yeah.
because they happen to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And not too many people are bothered about it because China is too big a monster to be poked, I guess. So
Unfortunately.
the bullies are not going to pick on somebody their size.
Yeah.
And we said, we looked at each other and we said, smells good. We went up to the entrance of the restaurant and they had these little mini pancakes, like about bite size, speciality kind of a thing. And she said, I have those and I have soup and everything else is finished. And I told my son, I said, if they make food and that's finished, that's a good indication. And this lady could speak a little bit of English to communicate with us. I said, let's try it.
Mm-hmm.
We went there and we ordered some of their soup, which is
Mm-hmm.
like lentil soup, which is amazing.
Mm.
And you could taste that it's not previously cooked and thawed and frozen foods
Right.
we gave. And when she cooked it, came steaming. And this was
Mm-hmm.
cold. This was
Mm-hmm.
cold at that time in Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
And then she brought her platters. So it's like a little dough, and in the pouch of the dough, you like pierogies.
Uh-huh. Okay, yeah.
They put some beans, some lentils, and a little bit of minced
Ooh.
meat, lamb
Ooh.
meat, and it's served in a sauce of yogurt and cream and
Oh,
very
wow.
lightly spiced, very lightly spiced, very unlike Pakistani food.
Hmm.
And we ordered, 2 platters, and we started, and it was sizzling, fresh. And we tried and we looked at her. We said, "Can we get some more?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Yes, these 2 platters won't be enough for you." We said, "Yeah, we'll try it, and we'll see because she's running a business. She's going to sell this to us."
Right.
And we said, "Let's try it." We tried it, and
Yeah.
she said, "Hey, you know what? This is nice. Maybe have some more, please." And she brought it for us.
And that's the
So
key. Try it.
try it. Try it.
Yeah.
Open your mind, open your heart to
Mhm.
different things. What's the worst thing that can happen? You won't like it. Don't try it again.
Right.
Put a cross on that.
Hmm.
Fine. You don't like going to some place because it's too hot, it's too this, it's too that, whatever, don't do it. Or
Hmm.
go to some other place.
Hmm.
But don't stop exploring.
Yeah.
I mean, Turkey. I am totally bowled over by that place, James.
It is so high on my bucket list. I am dearly looking forward to a time when I'll be able to visit and go to Istanbul and see all of the architecture and the history that's there. It is definitely a place I look forward to visiting.
Having met you twice now, what I would recommend for you to see and what I can tell you, you will be bowled over by the architecture, the
Hmm.
people, the whole city, the
Hmm.
construction, the
Hmm.
connecting of the underground tunnels
Yeah.
from the
Oh,
Bosphorus,
yes.
connecting Europe and Asia. All that
Hmm.
is great.
Yeah.
But two things that
Such an
bowled me over.
intersection.
Yeah, two things that bowled me over. One, in one of the suburbs of Istanbul, we visited a museum for children.
Hmm.
And they have all these characters over there in the museum from Western and the Middle Eastern philosophies and literature.
Hmm.
Cinderella was there, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs were there, and Ali Baba was there, and the different characters were there, and it was so well done. I think I enjoyed it more than my grandchildren. Really, I became a child over there, and it's free.
Cool.
And there were so many young families coming with their
Oh, that's
kids, and you could
beautiful.
see the mom and the dad. Oh, look at that, look at that! And I said, these guys are doing what I'm doing, becoming a child at heart all over again. And
I
I
love
loved it,
that.
I loved that. And the second thing that I felt so good about, and I don't, mean to be critical about Canada, where I've been living a good, blessed life for the last
Mhm.
26 years that I've been here. But people in Istanbul take better care of stray cats and dogs
Hmm.
than we do of human beings over here, James.
Hmm.
We have had more people die due to overdose of drugs in Vancouver
Hmm.
than due to COVID.
See.
How can you justify this?
Yeah.
I mean, COVID was a bug that came after many people knew about what happened and then spread
Right.
like a virus. So there is some excuse by the time
Right.
people of science come up to it. But people dying of drug overdose, substance abuse,
Hmm.
with all the police and technology and everything and happening.
Hmm.
There, the amazing thing is that Istanbul was surrounded by 7 plateaus or hills.
Hmm.
And till recently, the outskirts of Istanbul, not the main city, but the outskirts, the hills were used by the shepherds. They would take their flock up, graze them, and come back. And to protect your sheep, your flock,
Yeah.
you need sheep dogs.
Right.
And these are massive dogs.
Ooh.
And now you find these dogs with tags in the ears, green colored tags in the ears. They
Uh-huh.
don't belong to anybody, they're not pets.
Huh.
And the city takes care of them. And I did not see a single scrawny, starving, sick dog or cat in the
Wow.
entire city of Istanbul.
Ah.
I was amazed. I mean,
Hmm.
to me,
That's beautiful.
that's
It
showing
says something about a
compassion.
society
It
because
does.
how you care for the least and the people who can care for themselves the least or the animals that care for themselves the least, that shows the real moral character of a place.
It
Yeah,
does. It's
absolutely.
creation. That too is creation. Like we
Hmm.
take care of animals, we take care of the plants, we take care of the earth
Hmm.
and protect it instead of destroying it for quick little bit of profit for a few people, for a few companies.
Hmm.
It can be done in a better manner.
Yeah.
Whatever we're doing, it can be done in a better manner. Exploit the natural resources, yes, but look at it in a more strategic vision, not just
Right.
quick profits and kind of a
Yeah.
situation. That's where I come from,
I
James.
love that though. That I think that's a really good place to tie this back to,
Mm.
because this is not just listening to each other, connecting to each other, being of an open mind, but on a broader view in
Yes.
society, reaching
Hmm.
out and
Yes.
connecting to the nature and the context that we have,
Yes.
and listening there too. I think is
Hmm.
also super important. So thank you for
It
bringing that
is.
up, and
It
thank you
is.
for jumping on this call with me. This has been beautiful,
No, no, it's been
and
pleasure.
it's been great.
Thank you so much, James. Wonderful talking to you again.
Absolutely, anytime.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Shakeel.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had your curiosity sparked to explore these subjects with greater awareness or gained a valuable insight along the way. Please remember to leave reviews wherever you can, and make sure to join the conversation on my Discord, link in the show notes. Remember, community is the catalyst that drives lasting transformation. I'll see you in the next episode of Catalytic Curiosity.